time for your weekly financial workout with your elite personal trainers, Ryan and Bob Payne, guiding you on how to build a stronger and more robust financial plan. So get ready. We're about to pump you up. Live from the greatest city in the world, this is No Payne, No Gain.
Good morning. This is No Payne, No Gain Financial Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Payne, president of Payne Capital Management, along with Chief Investment Officer, my father, Robert J., or simply Bob Payne. And that is Payne spelled P-A-Y-N-E. We've got a great show for you this morning to help you on your path to financial freedom. We're going to address your 401k. You have a lot of money saved in your work retirement plan, but what potential pitfalls does this present for you? Bob and I are going to break it down for you. We're going to talk about portfolio disasters. We've seen a lot of natural disasters the last couple weeks, but let's talk about what kind of financial calamities can happen and how you can protect yourself against them, along with this week's financial pornography, what's out there in the media that you need to avoid at all costs. And we have our Spotlight segment today where our star financial advisor, Michelle McKinnon, is going to come on the air and talk about a real retirement plan she worked on and some of the pain points or mistakes this couple is making with their planning so you can avoid that same or avoid those same mistakes with your own planning. So let's hop right to it. Let's talk about 401k weaknesses. With your 401k being probably your most powerful retirement savings tool, but let's face it, it's not perfect. There's some weaknesses that you have putting all of your nest egg into one of these retirement plans. And Bob, the first one I think about is a lot of times there's a lot of administrative costs that you end up paying and don't even know you're paying in these plans.
Well, it's so true, Rye. I mean, it's let's be clear, first of all. Anybody who's contributing to a 401k, a 403b, a 457 or a TSP plan, you're doing absolutely the smartest thing you can do. It's the best way to invest, best way to save. It's the only legal tax shelter available to us as U.S. citizens. But that being said, they're not all created equal, right? Some are more expensive than others. And hey, Rye, you own a company. You know, you have a 401k plan. Who pays all those fees in the 401k plan, you or employees?
Well, because we're a benevolent employer, we actually do cover the admin costs on our plan. But I will say that is not the norm. You know, we analyze a lot of 401k plans, and we always look at the cost structure. And I would say there's a good chance you're paying the admin cost on your plan. Your employer, your company is actually making you pay those costs, and you don't even know you're paying them. That's the crazy part. It comes right out of your 401k plan.
Well, a lot of times that's up on the website, you know, the particular 401k or plan provider, will spell those fees out. But in some cases, you really do need an advisor to break it down for you and take a look. But hey, look, if that's the company you work for, you're not going to have too many options. And I guess the question would be, Ryan, why are there so many costs? I mean, where are all because of all the bells and whistles that come along with these plans? I mean, where do these costs come from?
Well, a lot of these plans were set up many years ago. So if you have an insurance plan at your work, for instance, they're probably one of the biggest culprits. A lot of times they have high fees, which we have an old joke. You always have to be concerned about the yield to broker. So whoever sold that plan to your company many years ago may have gotten a big commission to do so and may be collecting handsome fees on that plan year after year. Now, the thing is, Bob, the world has changed. There's so many more options for 401k plans today than there ever was in the past. There used to just be a few players in the 401k space, but now with all the new providers out there, it's smart every couple of years to have some sort of cost analysis run on your plan, see if there's a cheaper option.
Yeah, that may make sense. I mean, if you're an employee or even if you're an employer, you got to think under the DOL rule, the Department of Labor fiduciary rule, you're responsible for making sure those plans have the lowest cost. So you can't assume that your employer's done that, and you want to take a hard look at it because it's not just the administrative cost, it's also the cost of investment. If you have a plan that's run by a mutual fund company or an insurance company, there's a lot of hidden costs or even just a lot of embedded costs in high-cost mutual funds. And that could hurt your retirement if you're losing money to fees every year. So everyone should take a hard look at whether you have the right plan. Now, if you're retired or you've left the company, I mean, I can't tell you how many cases, Ryan, do we work on where a client has 4 or 5 401k plans.
Yeah, because let's face it. I mean, during your career, a lot of times you're going to go from you're going to go through a lot of different companies, especially nowadays. And what ends up happening is you forget about that money you contributed to your old plans. So you can be paying admin costs on a lot of different pockets of your money at a lot of different places. And that can be a real issue because you're just racking up more and more fees on little pockets of money. So, a couple of things you want to consider is, number one, I think, find out all the costs in your plan. And we actually have people on staff here that they can do that. They can go through and find out all the costs that you're paying on your plan right now. Once you figure that out, you have to figure out, okay, are there some better options for me? And typically, if you're over 59 and a half, if there aren't any other options for you, if you can't get out of your plan, you can do sometimes what you call an in-service distribution. You can actually roll money out of your 401k and put it into an IRA or an individual retirement account for yourself, and you can invest the money on your own. You'll have many more options. You can control the costs. So if you are trapped in a plan, you may be able to roll money out of it as well, which is another option. And it's something you want to consider, especially if you have a lot of money locked up in retirement plans.
And of course, if you're younger, you have the option of either rolling it into your new employer's plan or doing an IRA rollover for yourself. And the big benefit of having assets in an IRA is you have unlimited investment options as opposed to a 401k plan that has a small menu. To keep costs down, a lot of these plans will give you limited menus of investments. And I find a lot of plans have missed out on the best returns in 2017. Of course, that would be emerging markets. I'm surprised at how many plans don't have an emerging markets option available for investment.
Yeah, even worse, Bob, if you want to invest in quote-unquote safe investments, really your option typically is to buy a bond fund. And if you're a listener to this show, we do not like bond funds. There's no protection there. And there's no protection of principal in a bond fund. So a lot of times you end up putting your money in cash or some sort of stable value option where you're earning no interest on your money. So especially as you're getting closer to retirement and your balance is building, you have to get really serious about what's going on in my 401k. Are there some better options? And are there ways that I can make my money more diversified, more conservative than I can actually do in my company's 401k? And if you're sitting there thinking, I need to start thinking about all these things. I need to know what's going on in my 401k. I need to know what's going on with retirement. Here's your shot to do it. If you're one of the next 10 callers and you have over $200,000 saved for retirement, Bob and I will run for you our total financial master plan, and we'll do that with no obligation or cost. It's a full comprehensive review that looks at everything. So if you bring in last year's tax return, we literally have a CPA review it to make sure you're not paying unnecessary taxes, optimize your portfolio for taxes. If you bring in those legal documents, that will you set up a decade ago, it needs to be updated. We have an estate planner that'll review that to make sure that your wills and trusts are up to date, what changes you need to make. And then finally, bring in those statements. Bring in all those old 401k statements. Bring in all your brokerage accounts, your insurance policies. Bob and I are going to review it on our very simple 3-page document, our investment analysis spreadsheet. We're going to look at fees. Are you being overcharged in your 401k? What hidden costs are in your portfolio? We're going to show you how to reduce costs on your portfolio. We're going to look at income. Income is so critical in retirement. Can we increase or optimize the income on your portfolio? And we're going to look at diversification. Is your money spread out? What risks or pitfalls do you have in your portfolio? We're going to show you where your issues are in your portfolio. Then we're going to tie it all together, and we're going to make sure that your money outlives you. You don't outlive your money utilizing strategies we've literally worked on for 40 years to take your family from point A to point B with the least amount of risk and the highest odds of success.
So give us a call at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. If you're one of the next 10 callers and you've saved over $200,000 for your retirement, our team will run for you our total financial master plan. There's no obligation, there's no cost, but you can't take advantage unless you call 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. This is Bob Payne, this is Ryan Payne, and we are No Pain, No Gain Financial Radio.
It's time for the weekly No Payne No Gain market update with the team at Payne Capital Management here in New York City.
Good morning. This is Bob Payne, the Chief Investment Officer and Managing Director here at Payne Capital Management. Now, this week, the country let out a big sigh of relief when the destruction from Hurricane Irma, while horrible, was not as dire as expected. The stock market staged a huge relief rally with fresh new all-time highs hit by the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ, followed by big rallies in Europe, Japan, and the emerging markets, still the best performing market globally, now up 30% year to date, proving once again that the weather, much like the stock market, is not ruled by our expectations, especially on the short term. That's why it's never a good idea to be all in when it comes to investing. I've seen too many portfolios suffer by being all in stocks, for example, right before 2008, or all in cash, like a lot of people since 2009 who have missed out on this big, booming bull market. Simply stated, binary decisions are inherently high risk. See, uncertainty and volatility created by things like geopolitical developments in places like North Korea and the Middle East, terrorist attacks, like the most recent attack we just had in London, and legislative reform in Washington, or should I say lack of legislative reform in Washington, are always going to impact the markets. But more importantly, it'll impact our expectations. That's why the most successful investors follow a process-driven strategy, not a strategy driven by events, or worse, anticipation of those events. See, at Payne Capital, we follow a very simple process-driven strategy we call A to B. That gives our clients the highest probability of achieving their goals with the least amount of risk. We found that successful investors are always diversified, they're always liquid, and they're always willing to adapt and adjust. When it comes to investing, one size definitely doesn't fit all. That's why with your own unique strategy, you have the luxury of only having to be approximately right in your investment decision making, as opposed to being exactly correct. See, a lot of people don't realize when they speculate, the opposite of exactly correct is precisely wrong. Simply stated, it is better and easier to achieve your investment goals by being approximately correct as opposed to being precisely wrong. Now, if you're sitting there wondering, do I have a portfolio that's diversified globally that gives me the highest probability of achieving my goals and my dreams and my values with the least amount of risk? Why sit there and wonder when you could know? Simply give us a call at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. This is Bob Payne of No Payne, No Gain Financial Radio.
Your personalized path to financial freedom awaits at Payne Capital Management. For more information, go to BeBullish.com. That's BeBullish.com.
It's Ryan Payne, Bob Payne, No Payne, No Gain. And one of Bob and I's goals, as you may already know, is to educate you as much as we possibly can to make sure you're prepared for retirement. You can filter out a lot of the noise out there. And one of the more important decisions you're going to make in retirement is deciding how to take your Social Security. So Bob and I have put together a guide for you called Maximizing Your Social Security Benefit. And you can actually retrieve that free if you text to 555-888 and just simply put the word in bullish. That's BULLISH and send. Again, that's 555-888 and put the word bullish, BULLISH, and send it in, and you can access our Maximizing Your Social Security Benefit Guide just to help you make better decisions about your retirement. One more time, text the word bullish to 555-888. And speaking of making better decisions about your retirement, let's talk about portfolio disasters. And we know we've had wildfires, hurricanes, floods, all these natural disasters in the last couple of weeks. Let's talk about, when it comes to your portfolio, what type of financial disasters could possibly have a catastrophic effect on your life and your retirement, and how to avoid those. And Bob, one of the things that I see very, very often now is worrying about your spouse. If you run the money, you do everything when it comes to the finances, and God forbid something happens to you, your spouse is completely left in the dark. This is a huge issue.
That's a huge issue, Ryan. And I've been doing this for 42 years, as you know. And I've had a lot of joint account relationships in those 42 years. And you know what I'm convinced makes the best marriage?
Enlighten me, Bob.
Opposites attract. And when you find people that are opposite, they have opposite interests. And some people find what we do fascinating. Most people don't. And there's always at least one spouse who's completely disinterested in, where's the insurance policy? How much do we pay on the mortgage? How's the portfolio doing? Where's the income come from? Who wants to pay the bills? So there's always one spouse who manages the finances and one who doesn't. And guess what happens when one spouse who's interested passes away?
A financial disaster, because all of a sudden the spouse doesn't have to pay the bills. You don't know how to, balance a checkbook in some cases. It's crazy. And never mind making decisions about the portfolio, especially, if you really like to speculate with things like individual stocks. Well, your spouse probably has no interest in that, and you might be taking a lot of risk in your portfolio. That's okay when you're watching the portfolio, but your spouse is not interested in it. Could be sitting with a very aggressive portfolio, not understand it at all, which can be, again, a financial disaster, Bob.
It will be a financial disaster, Ryan, but just think about the people who lived in Houston and got hammered by that hurricane, and people in Florida got hammered by that hurricane. If you're sitting there right now, where's all your financial documents? Even if you're the one who manages everything, where is everything, right? Where, if you want your spouse to know where to find out about your total financial plan, where do they look? And if you had a house wiped out or your house flooded and all your documents, went out down the drain, that can be catastrophic as well. So one of the things that we're finding that our clients love and take fully advantage of is that Financial 360 portal, where we have everything stored in a vault online so that if something happens to the decision maker, the non-decision maker has everything at their fingertips by simply calling us.
Yeah, and that's something you need to be prepared for, is just thinking about having everything in one place. And that's why I love our Financial 360 portal, because if you can just have your spouse log into one place that you log into, you can see all your investments updated on a daily basis. So you can also look at things, just big picture things like how properly diversified are you, right? Just common sense things you need to be doing anyway. But to know that your insurance documents are there, to know that your wills and trusts are all downloaded there. I mean, and now in the days of the way we have technology right now, if you're not doing this for yourself, you're out of your mind, Bob.
Yeah, but you got to know who's your beneficiaries. Make sure the beneficiaries are titled properly. Make sure the assets are titled properly. So these are all things that everyone, regardless of if you're a decision maker or not, should be concerned with and should be doing something about. But Ryan, I find another catastrophic event is someone who plans on working past age 65. What happens when you can't do that?
Well, that's a good point, because if you haven't saved enough, if you haven't properly put together the right allocation in place with your money, you can put yourself in a really, really risky position. Because let's face it, when you're 65, your ability to work might be great, your health might be great today, but there's no guarantees, especially as you get into your late 60s, with being able to go to work every day, produce an income. So you need to have your contingency plan in place. And, I almost don't like to call it retirement anymore, because a lot of baby boomers, let's face it, everyone's working longer. You're working longer right now, but you want to have a plan in place that says, I have financial independence. And what that means to me, Bob, is I'm going to keep working because I like to keep working, but I know tomorrow if I turn the switch off, I don't want to work anymore, I can't work anymore, my plan for financial independence can be implemented. My portfolio is ready, so I can start drawing income from that instead of having to be reliant on an income stream from working.
I don't understand, son. You keep telling me that I'm retired, but I'm not allowed to sign the paperwork. How does that work?
That's my retirement plan, Bob. Keep you working forever.
All right. I'm glad you made that clear. But, there's one other catastrophic event that can happen, which is, healthcare expenses or nursing home expenses. If they're not planned for properly, that could wipe out the other spouse's, net worth, just supporting the ill spouse. And we see that happening more often than not, because people are living longer, the healthcare costs are going through the roof. What can people do to prepare for that, Rye?
I mean, this is where running wealth projections or retirement plan every 12 months, as our rule of thumb, is so critical. And the one thing I notice is don't make the mistake of just figuring out what your budget is in retirement. You need to factor in those unanticipated expenses. And that can be everything fun from, hey, I'm going to spend another $10,000 a year just to travel to places I want to go to. But more importantly, what if you need to spend $250,000 on healthcare costs? And the statistics right now, if you're 65 or above or 66 or above, that's the average you can expect to spend, and that's above and beyond long-term care costs. So if you don't have these things factored into your plan and figure out a way that those things are going to be funded, I always say is, look, if your portfolio took $250,000 hit tomorrow, would your lifestyle be affected? And if the answer is yes, you're not prepared for any sort of unanticipated healthcare costs in retirement. And I see that one being one of the biggest pitfalls that you're going to have in retirement. And if you're not planning for it today, that's a really big issue.
A lot of people now are looking at how prepared am I in the event of a hurricane hits my house, or I have a flood, or there's a wildfire. There's things you can do to prepare for a natural disaster, but there's also a lot you can do to be prepared for a financial disaster. And if you want to be in that position, you should take advantage of our offer, because you need to have a financial 360 portal to prepare for any disaster that may happen in your life. And if you're one of the next few callers and you've saved at least $200,000 saved for retirement, my son and I will run for you our renowned Total Financial Master Plan. Here's exactly what you can expect. We're going to review your tax return to make sure you're not paying any of those nasty, unnecessary taxes. We're going to have your estate plan reviewed by your estate planning attorney to be certain that your estate is not an IOU to the IRS. And lastly, we want to look at all your investment statements, regardless of where they're held. Doesn't matter who's the custodian. What matters is we want to see if you're fully diversified, if you're paying too much in fees, if you're getting the right amount of income, because we're going to take all of your statements and reduce it down to our famous investment analysis spreadsheet. Simple 3-page document that will tell us everything we need to know, compare apples to oranges to make sure you're getting the return for the risk that you're taking. And lastly, we're going to tie it all together into one simple wealth projection to make sure that we're answering for you the age-old question: are you going to outlive your money, or is your money going to outlive you? Utilizing strategies that Ryan and I have now perfected over 4 decades. That's correct. Over 40 years, we've been helping people get from their point A to their point B with the least amount of risk and as much certainty as any fiduciary can provide.
So don't waste time. Give us a call now. Get the full review at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. If you have over $200,000 saved for retirement, take advantage of this offer at 844-PLAN-NYC, 844-752-6692. Be one of the next 10 callers. Get a full assessment of everything at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. This is No Pain, No Gain Financial Radio.
At Payne Capital Management, we understand how crucial Social Security is to your retirement. However, Social Security is confusing, and there are many ways to claim your benefits. That's why we've developed 10 strategies for maximizing your Social Security benefits. If you text the word bullish to 555-888, we'll send you a link to download your free copy. Simply text the word bullish to 555-888. and you'll receive a link to register. The Social Security system is complex. Make sure you're making the most of your benefits. Get started today by texting the word bullish to 555-888. That's BULLISH to 555-888. Text the word bullish to 555-888.
It's time for Financial Pornography of the Week. This is where Bob and I scour the daily financial news and call out the biggest offenders of offering obscene and profane financial guidance to help you protect yourself from making any ill-advised financial decisions. Bob, what's happening this week? What was out there that just struck you the wrong way and you said, I have to bring it up here on No Pain, No Gain this Sunday?
Well, you're not going to believe this, Rye, but I had an article that struck me the right way.
Really?
And it was, yes, this is anti-financial pornography. This is helpful information, right, and it has to do with Social Security strategies.
Enlighten me, Bob.
I'm going to. They made a list of myths, and some of the myths are, the cost of living increases are going to come fast and furious, Social Security's going broke. Social Security is a political third rail. It's too dangerous for politicians to touch. All good points, but I'll tell you the big point was, when should you start taking your Social Security benefit? Now, one of the things that a lot of people talk about is that Social Security is going broke. And, one of the things we do know is that they're going to be able to pay full benefits through 2033. Now, whether the politicians can do anything or not, Rye, maybe after 2033, they might be paying a reduced amount of Social Security. But what we find is that most people end up taking it 62. Do you know why?
I'm going to assume they take it at 62 because, well, they're afraid that the government's going to run out of money.
Well, that's a big reason, but in a lot of cases, almost 40% of the cases, it's because people need the money.
Yeah, good point.
But we also recommend people take it as early as possible. Why do you think that is?
Well, taxes aside, because if you're still working before your full retirement, you have to give money back in taxes. But when you look at your break even a lot of times, so let's just say, hypothetically, you're 62 years old, you're not working anymore, and you decide to wait until age 66 to take the higher benefit. Well, based on our calculations, for the most part, it's going to take you to age close to 79 years old just to break even on the amount of money that you've foregone for those first 4 years of not taking the benefit between 62 and 66. So long story short is, if the average life expectancy is somewhere around 80, 81, how lucky do you feel taking the benefit later?
And that doesn't even account for the fact that if you're not spending that money and investing it, that could even take it out further. And right on the Social Security website, Rye, they say if you're 62 years old and you're a male, you're going to live to about 82. So Either way, you're going to break even. And if you live past 82, good chance Social Security is going to reduce the benefit because they have to. But you know what? You shouldn't just use the rule of thumb as a guide. There are some fantastic calculators out there. You built a phenomenal calculator to help people with their Social Security benefits. Give me an idea how that works.
Well, we can just compare, and again, it's all about the actuarial table. You just want to look at different times over however long you live, you can see what the total benefit you will receive at different ages, and that's the whole thing, right? It's if I think I'm going to live to 85, how much benefit would I take if I took it early, I took my full retirement, or even took it later at 70, because you can even defer that late. And that's also why, Bob, we put together our Maximizing Your Social Security Benefit Guide, so you can figure out some of the ins and outs of Social Security to make the best decision. And if you want that document, you can access it for free. You just need to text to 555-888, the word bullish. That's BULLISH. Again, text it to 555-888, the word bullish, and you can download our guide just to give you a couple ideas about ways you can maximize that benefit. And again, we also have a calculator that we can run for you, give you an idea of what's the most optimal time for you to take that benefit and your spouse. So it's a very critical decision you're going to make. You have to make the right decision around that. So we have a lot of ways to help you do that. One more time, text the word bullish to 555-888. The other thing I found this week, Bob, in the world of financial pornography has to do with mutual funds. And we talk a lot on this. Mutual funds, right? We don't love mutual funds. If you listen to the show, a lot of times mutual funds are higher costs and they don't end up performing as well. And I found in an article this past week in Barron's, basically, there's an old saying that past performance is no indication of future results. So we're told
I say it another way, Rye. I say past performance is 100% predictive of past results.
Well, guess what? This article confirms that. After only 18% of funds that were ranked in the top quartile of their category for the 5 years ending in 2015. So that means from 2010 to 2015, the best performing funds, only 18% of those remained a top performer when you went into 2016. So I guess long story short there is, if you pick the funds that did the best for the last 5 years, only 18% of those continued outperforming, which means there's no value in picking funds with great track records. Which is kind of crazy.
Better yet, if you go back to the seminal research from Eugene Fama and Professor French, University of Chicago, what they found was that of the 18% of the mutual fund money managers that actually outperformed their index over a 3 or 5 year period of time, they can't to this day figure out whether they were lucky or smart.
I'm going to take a wild guess, and I'd rather be lucky than good. If only 18% continue to outperform, I have to think luck plays a big part when a money manager outperforms or does better than the rest of the market.
Well, I find it amusing, Rye, that all the different boards that I serve on, every one of them uses a 3-year rule. So when something underperforms for 3 years, they usually fire the fund or the underlying index and then hire the outperforming manager. So that should be a good rule of thumb. If something underperforms for 3 years, buy more. If something outperforms for 3 years, back it down a little bit.
It sounds counterintuitive, but if you look at the research, it's true. And then if you're thinking to yourself right now, what do I own in my portfolio? Do I own a lot of mutual funds? Have they underperformed? Have they outperformed? Do I have the right strategy in place to get me to and through retirement? Here's your shot to have that full analysis done. If you're one of the next 10 callers and you have over $200,000 saved for retirement, Bob and I will run that full analysis for you, our total financial master plan, and we'll do that with no obligation or cost. That's a full review that's going to look at all of these things for you. We're going to look at your wills, trusts. Have they been updated? Are they collecting dust in the basement? Well, we'll have an estate planner review it, make sure your estate docs are up to date, what changes you may want to make to update everything. We're going to look at taxes. Bring in last year's tax return. Money saved in taxes is just as green as any money can make invested. We'll have a CPA review your portfolio, your tax return to make sure that you're not paying unnecessary taxes. And finally, bring in all of your statements from all the different institutions where they're held. Bob and I will run for you our famous investment analysis spreadsheet. That's when we'll look at all of your investments and we'll put it on a 3-page document. We'll look at fees. Are you being overcharged on your investments? Do you have expensive annuities, mutual funds, life insurance products? We'll break down all the fees you're paying to see how you can reduce the fees on your portfolio. We're going to look at income. Can you optimize or increase the income on your portfolio? Income is so important for retirement. We're going to show you how to create more of it. And we're going to look at diversification. What hidden risks do you have in your portfolio that need to be addressed? We're going to find all those hidden risks to make sure that your portfolio is bulletproof for retirement. We're going to tie it all together into one total financial master plan to make sure your money outlives you. You don't outlive your money, utilizing strategies our family has worked on for 40 years to take your family from point A to point B with the least amount of risk and the highest odds of success.
Hey, we all put this off too long. Don't wait. Give us a call at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. If you're one of the next few callers and you've saved over $200,000 for your retirement, our team will run for you your own personal total financial master plan. Now, there's no obligation and there's no cost, no strings attached, but you have to call 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. This is No Payne, No Gain Financial Radio.
At Payne Capital Management, we understand how crucial Social Security is to your retirement. However, Social Security is confusing, and there are many ways to claim your benefits. That's why we've developed 10 strategies for maximizing your Social Security benefits. If you text the word bullish to 555-888, we'll send you a link to download your free copy. Simply text the word bullish to 555-888. and you'll receive a link to register. The Social Security system is complex. Make sure you're making the most of your benefits. Get started today by texting the word bullish to 555-888. That's BULLISH to 555-888. Text the word bullish to 555-888.
These for us?
Are these for us?
Are those for us?
Are these bagels for everybody?
Are these for us?
Grab a New York bagel, lather on some cream cheese, and keep listening to No Payne, No Gain.
You know, if they're not from New York, they're not real bagels.
It's Ryan Payne, Bob Payne, No Payne, No Gain, spelled P-A-Y-N-E, of course. And if you're interested to learn more about myself and Bob, you can find out more on the World Wide Web if you go to simply BeBullish.com. That's www.BeBullish.com, and you can learn a little more about what Bob and I are doing here at Payne Capital Management. And if you ever have a question you want to ask myself or Bob, you can email us, questions@BeBullish.com, questions@BeBullish.com. Bob and I will answer your questions directly. And if it's a really good question, We will answer it right here on the show Sunday. And like every week, we got some pretty good questions. And the first question this week, Bob, comes in from Jay. He's out in Farmingdale, Long Island, way out there on the island. He writes in, Bob, ever since I retired, I've had a really hard time spending money. Something about not having a paycheck makes me very nervous. Do I need a shrink? What do you think, Bob?
No, Jay, I don't think you need a shrink. I think you just have to recognize that we're all average, normal human beings, and it's normal as you get older to become more insecure about your financial future and about other things. So we see this happen all the time. What you want to do is make sure that you're not paralyzed by that fear. And I find the best way to do that, Rye, is to have Jay doing an analysis so he can see exactly how much income he's going to generate after tax every year for the rest of his life and show that he'll never invade principal. And I think sometimes, I think what you have to do is make sure you have a budget that's real. So I see a lot of benefits, Rye, to our Financial 360 portal is that people put their actual budget in there. Then they can see every day how much income they're going to generate for the next 12 months. And they can see every year for the rest of their life how much wealth they're going to have. And it's updated every day in real time. And you can have a look at your beautiful financial picture. And I think that'll erase a lot of worries. What do you think, Rye?
Yeah, I think another thing psychologically and something that's really important to do is we talk about this a lot on the show, but you're moving from what we call wealth accumulation to a wealth distribution stage. You really have to make your portfolio what we call retirement ready. And what that means is you want to build a portfolio that's pension-like. And if you're not going to be working anymore, you want to replicate having the income come in just like you did your paycheck. So I think it's important, and one thing we do for our clients is you have your centralized checking account, and we can determine, okay, this is what I need every month, just like when I was receiving a paycheck for my job, and build it so that your portfolio has the money moved right into your account every month, just like you received your paycheck when you were working. I think that's a really, really smart way to set things up. And again, the only way to do that is to really make sure you're building your portfolio so that it's able to produce, like you're saying, Bob, creating income. I like it more like farming, where in your portfolio you're constantly harvesting the best part of the portfolio to keep your lifestyle intact throughout retirement. So you can really replicate, Jay, what it was like when you were working and having cash flow come into that centralized location. So
that's a good point.
And if you want more questions on that, we can show you how to do that. The next question comes in from David. He's in Morristown, New Jersey. He writes in, Ryan, I have no children or close family, and I don't care about leaving money to any charities. Should that change how I invest since I don't care about my legacy? Well, maybe just go to Vegas and have a blowout weekend. Bad joke,
or better
David.
yet, David, why don't you just name me as your beneficiary?
I would think that would be justifiable as a charity, Bob.
I think so.
Well, look, here's the problem with that is, again, this is why we talk about running those retirement projections every 12 months. You got to make sure that you have enough money to last your retirement. We say on the show often, Bob, but is my money going to outlive me, or am I going to outlive my money? I think that's the first concern here.
No, I think the other thing, Ryan, is that too many people let I call it the inheritance tail wag the investment dog. I mean, people shouldn't think so much about how much am I going to leave, but do I have enough to support my lifestyle? And what about those catastrophic expenses that may happen, like long-term care?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the one you have to be most worried about. The question you have to ask yourself over and over again, can my portfolio take a $250,000 plus hit if, God forbid, I have unexpected health care costs? And if you don't have long-term care, you have to self-insure that as well. So you might not have to worry about your legacy, but you might have to worry about having enough money to fund your entire retirement. And you're living longer on top of all those things. So there's a lot of stuff you have to think about.
At the very least, though, David, you should come up with some money or some charitable institution you care enough about to at least name them as beneficiary, because otherwise it's going to go to the state. And that may not necessarily be in your best interest. And, well, it depends on how you feel. But I think there's probably someone you could name or some charity you could name that could use the money better than just letting it go to the state.
Unless you think the government's your favorite charity, but I'm going to guess that's not the case here.
Well, I paid my estimated taxes this week, right? It feels like that's my favorite charity.
Yeah, that's never a fun check to write.
Yeah, so right. It looks like both the question from Jay, talking about not being able to spend money, and David, not knowing how to title his assets, really we come to the same conclusion. Everyone needs to know exactly how much income their portfolio is going to generate, but more importantly, what's inflation, that insidious hidden tax, going to do to your net worth and to your income over time. I mean, we've seen a lot of people retire. We have clients down in Florida that retired where, one spouse is living large, having a great time. They're in an active community. They're taking Zumba lessons. They're taking advantage of all the opportunities to play golf and tennis and living a life that they weren't able to do when they were working, where the other spouse is scared to death of their shadow. They're afraid of what's going to happen. They look at all the things on the news of geopolitical risk and human nature and natural disaster risk, and they sit there and they play through these disaster scenarios through their mind, where what you have to do is just sit down and do a wealth projection, put hard dollars and numbers down and put it in writing and have a projection done where you can see what your life looks like financially every year for your life. And you can play what if. What if I want to take a vacation? What if I want to buy a condo somewhere else? What if I want to gift money to a charity? What impact does that have? And you can also play what if, historically, people are living longer now, right?
Yeah. So, Bob, how do you do it? How do you account for all these costs you have to take care of in retirement?
Well, if you're sitting there and you're thinking the same way Jay and David and Ryan are, what I'd like to offer for you, if you're one of the next few callers and you've saved at least $200,000 for retirement, what we'll do for you is Ryan and I will run for you our total financial master plan with no obligation or cost. And if you're one of the next few lucky callers, here's exactly what we're going to do for you. We're going to review your tax return. Not us, but our CPA partner, to make sure you're not paying any of those nasty, unnecessary taxes. We're going to review your estate plan to be certain that your wills and your trust are not structured in a way that they're an IOU to the IRS. And lastly, we're going to look at all your investment statements. No matter where you custody those investments, no matter what financial institution, regardless of where they're held, we're going to do those projections to make sure that you have enough income in retirement, to make certain that you can spend money as freely on a daily basis as you'd like. We're going to take all of your investments and reduce it down to our famous investment analysis spreadsheet. Now, this is a simple 3-page document that anyone can read, and it's going to compare apples to apples. It's going to show you whether or not you're diversified and how you're diversified, exactly what you own and why you own it. We're going to look at the fees and the cost of maintaining that portfolio. You'd be surprised at how many people are being overcharged on their investments without their knowledge. And lastly, we're going to look at that income. We're going to look at maybe creating a more dependable income stream to optimize the cash flow in your portfolio so you can support those dreams and goals that you have in retirement. And lastly, we'll tie it all together into one wealth projection, which will answer that age-old question. Are you going to outlive your money, or is your money going to outlive you? And we're going to do that utilizing strategies that my son and I have perfected now for over 4 decades in helping other people get from their point A to their point B, their financial goals, their dreams, with their values, with the least amount of risk, and with the most certainty that any fiduciary can provide.
So don't waste time. Give us a call. We have a few slots left. 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. Take advantage of getting a full review done at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. If you have over $200,000 saved for retirement, we have a couple slots. Get in here. Get it done at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. This is No Payne, No Gain Financial Radio.
Here's this week's Spotlight on No Payne, No Gain.
It's Bob Payne, Ryan Payne, No Payne, No Gain Financial Radio. And one of the biggest decisions you're going to make when it comes to retirement, and one of Bob and I's goals is to make sure that you cut through the noise and make the best decisions, is going to be how do you take your Social Security? You only get one shot to do it. So Bob and I put together a guide on how to maximize Social Security. If you'd like to get a copy of that for free, go ahead and text to 555-888, the word bullish, B-U-L-L-I-S-H. That's the word bullish, B-U-L-L-I-S-H, to 555-888, and get the guide on how to maximize Social Security. You've got to do it the right way. You've got to make the right decisions. So that's a great way to get started. One more time, text the word bullish to 555-888. And it's time for our Spotlight segment. This is where each week we take a real financial plan and we uncover the flaws, or what we call pain points, so you can avoid the same mistakes with your own planning and investing. And we have a very special guest, certified financial planner, my colleague, superstar, Michelle McKinnon. Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for being on the show.
Good morning. Excited to be here.
So, Michelle, you worked on a case this past week, and this couple had some mistakes that they were making with their planning. Why don't you give us the rundown on that?
Yeah, so very nice couple, definitely on the younger side, which I'm always excited to see. Very much in the thick of their working careers. They've got a couple kids in high school and middle school, definitely thinking about college. And I think this was a great example of, they always had some thoughts, right? Some thoughts of, maybe I want to retire in 65, 70. Some thoughts of, I definitely want to buy, a house somewhere else. All these different ideas and processes and things that they wanted to accomplish in their retirement, but they never actually put it into a plan. And when we ran the projections, the numbers didn't work. And they weren't that far off, but just simply going through the exercise of putting all those numbers into play is so critical, Ryan. And you often see that people just don't do it.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic. I mean, let's face it, you can go through, you can be almost 55, 60, 65, getting close to retirement, accumulating, but never thought about a concerted plan, especially to start drawing on those assets later. I mean, it's such a common thing that we see.
Absolutely. And I think the educational planning too, it's like, you might have a decent amount of wealth, but if all your wealth are in IRAs, and even if you're above 50, right, when you're planning for college and if you're going to, pay the majority of your kid's child, I mean, that's a huge tax hit that you probably haven't even thought about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest taxes you're going to pay is your IRA. It's going to be an IOU to the IRS if you don't plan properly.
And then just moving on to the investment portfolio, it's very comparable to what we see all the time, Bob and Ryan. The majority of the money is in large cap U.S. growth and value, which is unfortunate, right? They haven't benefited from the big rally we've seen overseas or even the energy rally of last year. And it's just so typical. There's definitely nothing unique about this portfolio.
Well, there is something unique. I noticed in their big IRA rollover account, they have one mutual fund company who's obviously managing the portfolio, and it's 100% invested in that mutual fund company's funds. There's no diversification into anybody else's ideas but their own. To me, that seems like a complete violation of the new Department of Labor fiduciary rule. Michelle, I mean, did you address that with them when you looked this over?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not surprised that you see the title of the statement is the company that the majority of your mutual funds are in. And I would have to think that they can find another alternative that might be cheaper than 60 basis points for their actual investments. So
actually,
absolutely,
Brian spoke
Bob.
Earlier in the show today about how there's no mutual fund company, no mutual fund manager that's underperforms the underlying index. I certainly think that applies to an entire firm. So at least that's a big pain point that I see in this portfolio.
And then lastly, talking about the investment portfolio is the income. I mean, we can go from $10,000 that they're generating in dividends and interest all the way to $27,000. I mean, compounded over a 20-year period, that's real money. So even those small steps that you can boost your interest and your dividends, I mean, that makes a tremendous impact over your investment performance over your lifetime.
Yeah, I'd like another $16,000 a year in income. That's
right?
Just reallocating the portfolio, which it's so critical, and you don't have to worry about if the market's going up or down to receive your $16,000 more in income a year.
Yeah, one of the things we always say at Payne Capital Management is that income is much more dependable than capital gains. So it's that total returns, that sequence of returns that makes a big difference in how the portfolio performs over time. If you just do a straight line projection, it's one thing, but if you're going to invest in the real markets, you want to look in the past to have clues to how to invest in the future. And I think adding more income makes a lot of sense here, Michelle. That's a great idea on your part.
And really to tie it all together and talking about the master plan, they came to me, they were really frustrated, of course, like living in New York, surprise, surprise, right? You're actually making a lot of money on paper, but then after you factor in taxes, you feel like, you're broke. And they really felt that their accountant wasn't giving them any ideas. It's like, yeah, we take the deduction on our interest. Yeah, we take all these, these other deductions, but they were just so hungry for some new deductions. So we mentioned HSAs. I talked about a few different options, and I think that's where it's so important to have a tax planner versus just like a tax preparer.
HSA. There's so few people that take advantage of health savings accounts. That was a great pickup on your part.
Amazing.
To see that these folks qualify and they could be putting a lot of money away, and they can grow tax-free if they use it for healthcare costs. It's an excellent idea, Michelle.
This is one of the most amazing tax benefits of all time. If you're not doing this right now, you should be doing it. If you are eligible for a health savings account, you need to find out if you are. As a family, you can put away $6,750 a year. If you compound that over 15 years at 6%, how much do you think that is?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
$166,000. You can use that money tax-free for Medicare premiums, long-term care, insurance, prescription drugs, dental work, all the things you're going to have to spend money on anyway. I love the health savings account. That was an awesome recommendation, Michelle. You're crazy if your advisor's not talking about a health savings account. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I need a full plan like this. I need to know how much more income can I generate a year on my portfolio. Can you generate another $16,000 a year? Am I properly diversified? Do I have a health savings account? How can I optimize taxes? All those things. Here's your shot. We have a couple slots left. If you're one of the next few callers and you have over $200,000 saved for retirement, we will run a full analysis just like this, our total financial master plan, and we'll do it with no obligation or cost. That means looking at everything. If you're bringing last year's tax return, we're going to look to see where you can save money on taxes and not pay unnecessary taxes. If you bring in those wills, those trusts, we'll dust them off. We have an estate planner that'll review it, make sure that they're up to date. Any changes you want to make to your estate plan, we'll help you do that. And then finally, bring in all your investment statements from wherever they're held, your insurance policies, 401ks, IRAs, brokerage accounts. We're going to put it all together and do our famous investment analysis spreadsheet and do the same analysis that we're doing right now. We're going to get fees. Do you have a lot of high-cost mutual funds? Is the company selling you those funds the same company that are in the name of those funds? We're going to show those conflicts of interest. We're going to look at income. This couple is going to have another $16,000 a year. Can we help you increase the income on your portfolio? And we're going to look at diversification. Is your money properly diversified? Do you have too much money concentrated in one or two areas? We're going to show you the pitfalls in your portfolio. Then we're going to tie it all together to make sure your money is going to outlive you. You're not going to outlive your money utilizing strategies myself, Bob, and superstar Michelle McKinnon have been working on now for 40 years to take your family from point A to point B with the least amount of risk and the highest odds of success.
Hey, don't miss out. Give us a call at 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692. If you're one of the next few callers, you've saved over $200,000 for your retirement. Our team, Ryan, Michelle, and Bob will run for you your own personal total financial master plan. No obligation, no cost. Just give us a call. 844-PLAN-NYC. That's 844-752-6692.
Another great show this morning. Michelle, an honor, a pleasure to have you, one of our two certified financial planners here at Payne Capital Management.
It was a joy, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Big Bob, enjoy the rest of the weekend, my man.
You too, son. Get rested up. It's going to be a big week here at Payne Capital Management.
It always is. Have a great weekend, and as always, be bullish.
Information provided on today's show is provided for information purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with an investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.